Seiko makes incredible watches that offer amazing value, but not every Seiko is worth your money in 2026. Some models have hidden problems that new buyers discover too late after they have already spent their hard-earned cash. From overhyped models with quality issues to discontinued watches with impossible servicing, this video reveals the truth about Seiko watches you should avoid. We are counting down the top 10 Seiko watches that will leave you disappointed and wishing you had done more research. Number 1 especially has fooled thousands of buyers with its premium looks, but delivers heartbreak with its actual performance and reliability problems that Seiko fans hate to admit. Number 10, Seiko 5 Sports SRPD Series. Starting at number 10 is the Seiko 5 Sports SRPD Series. Watches that seem like incredible value but come with frustrating problems that ruin the ownership experience. The 4R36 movement inside is decent but notoriously inaccurate, often running plus or minus 15 seconds per day, which adds up to several minutes per week. The case finishing on these affordable models is rough and cheap feeling, with visible machining marks and sharp edges that catch on clothing constantly during daily wear. The Hardlex crystal scratches incredibly easily compared to sapphire, developing hairline scratches within weeks that make the watch look old and beaten up quickly. The chapter ring alignment is often misaligned from the factory, a quality control issue that drives perfectionist watch collectors absolutely crazy every time they check the time. The bracelets are hollow and rattly, feeling cheap and toy-like despite Seiko charging premium prices for what should be better build quality at this level. These watches have become so mass-produced that they have lost any special feeling, available everywhere online with constant discounts that hurt resale value. Number 9. Seiko Mod Builds. At number 9 are Seiko Mod Builds, custom watches that seem creative but become expensive mistakes that lose all their value immediately after building. Modified Seiko watches have zero resale value because buyers want original factory watches, not someone else's personal project with aftermarket parts installed. The modding process often damages the original movement during disassembly, leading to reliability issues that appear months after the modification work is completed. Most modders are amateurs working at home without proper tools, resulting in misaligned hands, scratched dials, and dust inside the crystal that ruins the appearance. The waterproofing is almost always compromised during modding because properly pressure testing and sealing requires professional equipment most modders simply do not have. Mod parts from China are often low quality with poor finishing and incorrect dimensions that do not fit properly or match original Seiko specifications. The money spent on mods exceeds what you could spend just buying a better original watch from Grand Seiko or another premium brand instead. Many mod buyers realize too late they ruined a perfectly good watch and created something worthless that nobody else wants to buy from them. Number 8. Seiko SKX07 Discontinued Models. Number 8 is the legendary Seiko SKX07 and other discontinued models that have become terrible purchases due to inflated prices and availability problems. The SKX007 was discontinued years ago, but prices have tripled on the secondary market due to hype, making it absurdly overpriced for what you actually get. The 7S26 movement inside is ancient technology without hacking or hand-winding, features that even cheap watches include as standard in 2026. The Hardlex crystal scratches easily, and many used SKX007 watches show heavy wear on the crystal that is expensive to replace with sapphire aftermarket options. Buying used means dealing with unknown service history, and most SKX007 watches for sale have been heavily worn or modified by previous owners with questionable skills. The watch was never that special when new, just affordable and reliable, but current prices make it a terrible value compared to modern Seiko divers. Replacement parts are becoming harder to find as Seiko stops supporting discontinued models, making future service difficult and expensive when movements eventually fail. The discontinuation hype has made people forget this was an entry-level dive watch that sold for under $200 originally. Number 7. Seiko 7S26 Movement Watches. At number 7 are Seiko watches using the outdated 7S26 movement, a caliber that disappoints modern buyers who expect basic features that competitors include standard. The 7S26 movement lacks hand-winding ability, meaning you must shake the watch violently to get it started after it stops from not wearing it regularly. The movement also lacks hacking seconds, so the seconds hand keeps running when you pull the crown out to set time, making precise time setting impossible. Accuracy is mediocre at best, typically running plus or minus 20 seconds per day, which means your watch gains or loses over 2 minutes weekly. The movement is undecorated and uses basic materials, looking cheap and industrial when you remove the case back and see what you paid for inside. Modern Seiko movements like 4R36 and 6R35 offer significantly better features for similar money, making 7S26 watches obsolete and pointless to buy new. Many entry-level buyers purchase 7S26 watches not realizing they bought outdated technology that was already old 10 years ago when better options existed. The lack of features becomes frustrating quickly when you realize winding your watch requires wearing it constantly or buying a watch winder. Number 6. Vintage Seiko 1960s-1970s. Number 6 is Vintage Seiko, watches from the 1960s and 1970s, models that sound romantic but deliver constant headaches and expensive disappointment to buyers. These old Seiko watches need immediate servicing that costs hundreds of dollars because the movements are 50-plus years old and dried out completely. Finding qualified watchmakers who will work on vintage Seiko movements is increasingly difficult as many shops refuse these jobs due to parts availability problems. Original parts for vintage Seiko watches are basically extinct, forcing watchmakers to fabricate parts or use generic components that affect originality and future value. The cases on vintage Seiko watches have usually been heavily polished by previous owners, removing original brushing and sharp edges that gave the watches their character. Dials develop tropical patina and aging that sounds desirable, but often looks like damage and moisture exposure that ruins the watch's appearance and value. Water resistance is completely gone on vintage watches, meaning you cannot wear them in rain or wash your hands without risking moisture damage. Most vintage Seiko sellers on eBay and online marketplaces are flippers who restore watches poorly and hide problems to make quick money from uninformed buyers. Number 5. Seiko Grand Seiko Titanium. At number 5 is the Seiko Grand Seiko Titanium Collection, watches that cost thousands but scratch incredibly easily, despite titanium being supposedly superior to steel. Titanium sounds high-tech and premium, but the material scratches far more easily than stainless steel, developing swirls and marks within days of normal wear. The gray color of titanium looks dull and industrial compared to the bright shine of polished stainless steel that most people prefer in luxury watches. Titanium bracelets feel hollow and lightweight in a way that seems cheap rather than premium, lacking the substantial feel buyers expect from expensive watches. The material is difficult to polish and refinish, meaning once your titanium Grand Seiko gets scratched up, restoring it requires expensive professional work if possible at all. Resale value on titanium. Grand Seiko models is weak compared to stainless steel versions because fewer buyers want the material despite paying more originally. The lightweight feel that titanium offers as an advantage becomes a disadvantage because the watch feels insubstantial and toy-like despite costing thousands of dollars. Many buyers realize too late they paid extra for a material that scratches easier and looks worse than regular steel would have performed. Number 4. Seiko Sarb 070. Breaking into number 4 is the famous Seiko Sarb 017 Alpinist, a watch that has become absurdly overpriced due to hype while delivering disappointing real-world performance. The Sarb 017 was discontinued, and prices have skyrocketed to 3 or 4 times original retail, making it terrible value for what you actually receive. The 6R15 movement inside is mediocre and runs noticeably less accurately than modern Seiko movements or competitors at similar current market prices. The 38mm case size sounds perfect, but the thick case height and long lugs make it wear awkwardly large on most wrists, despite the small diameter. The compass bezel looks cool, but is completely useless in practice because it is not bidirectional, and you cannot use it for actual navigation effectively. The green dial photographs beautifully, but looks darker and muddier in person, disappointing buyers who expected the vibrant color from online photos and reviews. The watch has no quick set date function, meaning you must advance the time through 24-hour cycles to change the date when needed. The discontinuation hype has made people forget this was a $300 watch originally that is now selling for over $1,000. Number 3. Seiko 4R35, 4R36 entry-level automatics. At number 3 are Seiko watches using the 4R35 and 4R36 movements, calibers that disappoint buyers who expected better accuracy from modern automatic movements. These movements typically run plus or minus 15 seconds per day at best, meaning your watch gains or loses almost 2 minutes per week compared to quartz accuracy. The accuracy often degrades further as the movement ages, requiring expensive regulation service every few years to maintain even the mediocre factory accuracy specifications. The 4R36 movement is essentially the same as the 20-year-old 7S26 with hacking and hand-winding added, offering minimal actual improvements despite being called new. The movements use basic materials and finishing with no decoration or refinement, looking cheap and industrial when viewing through exhibition casebacks. Service costs for these movements often exceed their replacement cost, making expensive repairs economically pointless when movements eventually fail from wear. The 41-hour power reserve is mediocre compared to competitors offering 70 or 80 hours, meaning your watch stops running if you do not wear it daily. Many buyers realize too late that Seiko entry-level automatics offer poor value compared to quartz watches, or spending slightly more for better movements. Number 2. Seiko Prospex Paddy Diver. Taking number 2 is the Seiko Prospex Paddy Diver Collection. Watches that seem special, but deliver disappointment through annoying problems and poor value. The PADI partnership branding adds cost, but delivers zero functional benefit, essentially paying extra for someone else's logo on your watch dial permanently. The two-tone blue and red color scheme looks distinctive in photos, but clashes with most clothing and becomes tiresome quickly during daily wear situations. These Paddy models often cost significantly more than equivalent standard Prospex divers, making them terrible value for buyers seeking actual dive watch performance. The special edition nature means replacement parts become difficult to source years later when you need service or repairs on specific Paddy components. Resale value is weak because the buyer pool is limited to people who specifically want Paddy branding rather than a clean standard dive watch. The watches often have busy dials with excessive text and logos that make them look cluttered and difficult to read quickly during actual diving. Many buyers realize they paid premium prices for limited edition marketing hype rather than superior watch quality or performance improvements over standard models. Number 1. Seiko King Seiko Revival. Taking the number 1 spot is the Seiko King Seiko Revival collection, watches that promise premium quality but deliver massive disappointment through multiple frustrating problems. These watches cost $2,000 or more but use mid-range 6R movements that run no more accurately than $300 Seiko watches. The vintage-inspired design looks dated and old-fashioned rather than classic, appealing mainly to older collectors, while younger buyers find them boring and unattractive. The case finishing is good but not exceptional for the price point, falling short of Grand Seiko quality while costing nearly as much money. The watches lack any modern features like anti-magnetic protection or extended power reserve that competitors include standard at this price level in 2026. Resale value is terrible because the King Seiko name has no recognition among average buyers who have never heard of the historical models. The watches sit in an awkward position between affordable Seiko and Grand Seiko, being too expensive for the former but lacking the quality for the latter. Many buyers feel scammed after purchasing, realizing they paid Grand Seiko prices for regular Seiko quality with nostalgic marketing rather than actual premium value.